Imagine a tomb so dangerous that archaeologists have deliberately refused to open it for more than 2,000 years. Not because of ancient curses or legends, but because scientists believe the chamber inside may contain rivers of toxic mercury, deadly traps designed to kill intruders, and treasures that could vanish the moment fresh air enters the room. Above the tomb stands a silent army. More than 8,000 life-size soldiers made from clay, each one with a different face, different armor, and different expression, standing guard over a ruler who died more than 2 millennia ago. But here is the mystery that still puzzles historians today. If this massive underground army was only meant to guard the emperor, what exactly is hidden inside the tomb that no one has dared to open? To understand this story, we need to travel back more than 2,000 years to a time when China was not a single country, but a chaotic battlefield. During the 3rd century before Christ, the land we now know as China was divided into several powerful kingdoms constantly fighting for control. Historians call this period the Warring States era, a time of endless wars, shifting alliances, and ruthless ambition. Among these rival states, one kingdom slowly began to dominate the others. Its name was Qin, and its ruler was a young king who would soon become one of the most powerful and feared leaders in human history. His name was Qin Shi Huang. Qin Shi Huang was not an ordinary king. He was intelligent, relentless, and obsessed with control. Through military strategy, powerful armies, and brutal determination, he began conquering the neighboring kingdoms one by one. Year after year, his forces expanded the territory of Qin. Cities fell, armies surrendered, rival rulers disappeared. Finally, in the year 221 before Christ, Qin Shi Huang achieved what no one had ever done before. He unified all the warring states and declared himself the first emperor of China. For the first time in history, the land we now call China was ruled by a single emperor. Qin Shi Huang immediately began transforming his new empire. He standardized the Chinese writing system so that people across the empire could communicate more easily. He introduced a single currency and uniform measurements. He ordered the construction of massive road networks connecting distant regions. He also began building the early sections of what would eventually become the Great Wall of China, designed to protect the empire from northern invaders. But despite his immense power and success, Qin Shi Huang was haunted by one overwhelming fear: the fear of death. The emperor believed that his rule should last forever. He could not accept the idea that one day he would die like every other human being. So he began searching for a way to defeat death itself. He summoned alchemists, scholars, and mystics from across the empire. They were ordered to find the legendary elixir of immortality, a magical substance believed to grant eternal life. Some of these alchemists created strange potions and medicines, many of which contained mercury, a toxic metal that was mistakenly believed to have life-extending properties. Ironically, historians believe that these very potions may have slowly poisoned the emperor. But even as he searched for immortality, Qin Shi Huang prepared for another possibility. If he could not rule forever in this world, he would rule forever in the next. And for that purpose, he ordered the construction of the most ambitious burial project the ancient world had ever seen: his tomb. Construction began shortly after he became king, long before he united China. Ancient historical records describe a project so enormous that it required more than 700,000 workers. Laborers dug vast tunnels deep beneath the earth. Craftsmen built chambers, corridors, and underground halls. Engineers designed a massive burial complex that would eventually stretch across dozens of square kilometers. The emperor did not want a simple grave. He wanted an entire underground empire. According to ancient writings, the tomb was designed to replicate the world above ground. Miniature palaces and buildings were created to represent the imperial court. Rivers and landscapes were recreated beneath the earth. And in the center of this underground world would rest the emperor himself. But a ruler cannot govern without protection, even in death. So the emperor ordered something extraordinary, an army. Thousands of artisans began crafting life-size soldiers from clay. Each figure was sculpted individually. Faces were carefully shaped with unique features. Hairstyles varied, armor was detailed, even the posture of each warrior was slightly different. These were not simple statues. They were meant to be a real army. Infantry soldiers, archers, cavalry units, and generals were all represented. Alongside them stood horses and war chariots, ready for battle. By the time the work was finished, more than 8,000 clay soldiers had been created. This army would guard the emperor forever. But when Qin Shi Huang died in 210 before Christ, his empire soon began to collapse. Political struggles erupted. Rebels rose against the Qin dynasty. Within only a few years, the dynasty fell and a new ruling family took power. Over time, the location of the emperor's tomb faded into legend. The underground army remained buried and forgotten beneath the soil for more than 2,000 years. Then, in 1974, something unexpected happened. A group of farmers near the city of Xi'an were digging a well during a drought. As they dug deeper into the dry earth, their shovels struck something unusual, fragments of clay. At first, they assumed it was simply old pottery, but when archaeologists arrived and began investigating the site, they realized they had discovered something extraordinary. As the excavation expanded, rows of ancient soldiers began to emerge from the ground, hundreds of them, then thousands. An entire army frozen in time beneath the earth, each warrior standing silently, guarding a ruler who had died more than 2 millennia earlier. The discovery stunned the world. Today, the Terracotta Army is considered one of the greatest archaeological discoveries in history. But the most mysterious part of the story still lies hidden. Because the emperor himself is not buried with the soldiers. In the center of the entire complex stands a large artificial mound, a hill that rises quietly above the surrounding landscape. Archaeologists believe that beneath this mound lies the true tomb of Qin Shi Huang. And yet, despite decades of research, the chamber has never been opened. Ancient Chinese historian Sima Qian wrote a detailed description of the tomb over 2,000 years ago. According to his writings, the burial chamber contained incredible treasures, palaces filled with precious objects, ceilings decorated with representations of stars and constellations, and perhaps the most shocking detail of all, rivers made from liquid mercury flowing through the underground world to represent the rivers of China. For centuries, many historians believed this description was exaggerated or symbolic, but modern science has raised new questions. Soil samples taken from the area around the tomb mound have revealed unusually high levels of mercury, far higher than natural background levels. Some researchers believe this may confirm that the ancient historian's description was accurate. If the tomb really contains large quantities of mercury, opening the chamber could be extremely dangerous. Mercury vapor is highly toxic. But that is not the only concern. When the terracotta warriors were first uncovered in the 1970s, archaeologists noticed something tragic. Many of the statues had originally been painted in bright, vivid colors, but as soon as they were exposed to air, the ancient pigments began to fade and peel away. Within minutes, thousands of years of color vanished. Scientists fear that opening the emperor's burial chamber too soon could cause irreversible damage to priceless artifacts. Objects preserved for more than 2 millennia might rapidly deteriorate once exposed to oxygen, light, and changes in temperature. For this reason, many experts believe the tomb should remain sealed until new technologies allow archaeologists to explore it without destroying what lies inside. So for now, the greatest tomb in Chinese history remains untouched. Beneath a quiet hill near Xi'an, the first emperor of China still rests in a hidden underground world built for eternity. Above him, thousands of silent clay soldiers continue their eternal watch. And somewhere within that sealed chamber, the secrets of an ancient empire are still waiting in the darkness. Perhaps one day the tomb will finally be opened. But until that moment arrives, the greatest mystery of Qin Shi Huang's empire remains buried beneath the earth.